The 5th of August 2025. Good evening. Bit chilly, wind coming from the northeast. The storm is over. We got away light enough. Anyway, folks, a very quick video here because I'm going away. And yeah, people, I do hear feedback from people. Some can't understand some of the technical stuff I give them. They just cannot understand it. I don't know how to handle that really, but it is the silly season. Now, may I just tell you, it was always accepted in journalistic circles long ago that August was the time for silly stuff. The papers, there was no courts and things like that, so the papers tended to go for more light-hearted or scientific or other things like that. And that was the way, and that's what I should be doing. Now, a lot of people, are disgusted at the way Ireland is going. And I do ask myself the question, how did they get 73% of the people in 1918 to vote for the Republican Irish side? And bigger numbers than that if you took in the whole country. It was as big as 90% in some parts of the southwest. How did they get people to do that? You wouldn't get that turnout today. Now, the thing about it is too, that there's 40%, 38 to 40% of the people don't vote. And you have new videos coming out every day. You have videos about the state of the country and the sellout by our government and the shenanigans in the EU and all these strange things. And they must understand, and everyone must understand, there is no point preaching to the converted. Convincing me, Val Martin, that there's something should be done is no good. If you went round the doors of Ireland with this message, you get the same response as if you went round the doors of Ireland selling an insurance policy. In other words, for 25 years, you pay €5 a month and you get back 10,000 or whatever it is in 25 years. You'd get no takers, maybe one in the whole country. And that depended on how you looked and your gender too, and how short your skirt was. So that's the reality. Now, if you go around the houses of Ireland today and say, look, you've got to stop voting Fianna Fáil, you've got to stop voting Fine Gael, they'd slam the door, or they might listen to you, but that makes no difference. That's not how the psychology of politics works. You don't preach to the converted. If you're not going to take up armed rebellion, which I'm not, then your only option is the ballot box. And that's one is not going to be worked by any intuitive or quick thinking. That's one that is a lot more involved. And even at that, it's not going to be easy to persuade the people who won't vote to come out and vote for parties like the Irish Freedom Party. So it's a difficult one. What I'm really doing is making people aware of it so they understand what's going on. And most of the posts underneath here are understand that. Now, there's one or two lefties here that gives a. There's one guy there, Joe. I think it's Joe Healy, is it? He never says anything in particular. Now, I know exactly who that guy is, and I'm telling you now, if you don't stop posting baloney, I'll give your full details out on this channel. You got to stop it, and got to stop it now. Is it Joe Healy, isn't it? Not the fella. He's there and he's always giving guff out of him, and he never has anything logical to say. So anyway, we'll leave that for now. Well, the thing about it is that we got to look at the overall situation. Is there hope from abroad? You know the song My Dark Rosaline, and Spanish ale shall give you hope, my dark Rosaline. The priests are on the ocean green, they march along the deep. There was always this thing in Ireland that help will come from overseas. And I'm inclined to think that may be still the case. You look at Micheál Martin, the leader of Fianna Fáil. He's a wimp, an unbelievable wimp. He's completely inferior to anyone else. He has a severe inferiority complex. He believes the EU is God Almighty. They must be obeyed at all costs. Simon Harris, the same, no matter what they do. So my job is to bring that to your attention. Now remember, I do talk about Germany. Remember, in 1916, 14 to 18 and 16. There was a war in Europe and it killed people belonging to me and killed a lot of Irish people. But it devastated Europe. Britain took on Germany and they felt it was necessary to fight Germany. And they had a grip in Ireland and they wanted the Irish to fight because the Irish are good fighters. They had a grip on Ireland. And in the middle of the war, the 1916 Rising broke out and they took it serious enough to execute the leaders. But in the end of the day, they beat them. The rebels did beat them. But they didn't have the full backing of the people. Although down in the south of Ireland, there was a lot of support for Collins. And that's the core of the Fine Gael vote today. There was a lot of people felt that Collins's way and that the Fine Gael way was the way to go. And that's still there. But in any event, the war ended. And they put such reparations and such penalties on Germany that it led to the rise of Hitler. And there's my theory again about the pendulum politics, over and back. Instead of Hitler coming on and flexing his muscles and tackling this and making them back off, he started invading Russia, killing all the Jews and everything, when he didn't have to do any of that. So there's the pendulum. The next thing, the Second World War took place, and you know what happened there. Germany invaded Russia. Now then back in the 80s, the Germans began to look for unity. The Soviet Union began to collapse. And Margaret Thatcher, the British Prime Minister, strongly opposed the reunification of Germany and tried to persuade the Americans not to go for it and tried to stop it every way she could. And the reason was that she didn't want a united Germany. She said they'll rise again. Now, I know I have followers here who would be unionists, they'd be sort of neutral, pro-British, they'd be anti-British, they'd be all of that. But just get it what Margaret Thatcher said. And she was a tough one. She didn't want Germany reuniting because she said it would lead to the rise of Germany again. Because that's what the Germans do. The Germans never make small mistakes. So now we have the situation. Just look at it. Now we have the Germans on the rise, fully united, on the rise. There was restrictions on Germany having a foreign army or having armies operate outside Germany or even having a large army or having nuclear weapons up to 2 years ago. And they were put there to keep Germany under tabs. And we were told the European Union was there to keep Germany from getting too big for its boots. Now look at the situation. Germany and Britain are together. Germany and Britain are more together than Germany and France. There's very little stopping Germany getting nuclear weapons. There's very little stopping Britain stationing nuclear weapons in Germany, or America stationing nuclear weapons in Germany. Germany is now rearming. They're taxing the whole European Union, including Ireland, to build up this army. They never make small mistakes, so they made a mistake shutting down all their energy plants and all that, and now they're realising they got it wrong, but they're doing their best to get out of it. They're after agreeing a deal with America for 750 billion over 3 years in oil and gas from America. So they need it in. These is the crowd that told us there was going to be net zero. And to tell you and me, oh, we're going to have net zero, we're going to have no carbon, we're going to be carbon neutral. They're bringing out more laws that if you own a factory, you have to buy carbon credits somewhere else. But they're still buying in the fuel because they know they need it to rearm. So is that not a simple example? Germany is on the march. Britain is on the march. They'd fit the whole army into a football stadium. That doesn't mean they won't try. Our Taoiseach Michael Martin and the Duracell bunny, Simon Harris, are on the march. They are now going to do whatever the European Union tells them, to the letter. And they are disgusted at anyone who dare to stand up to Ursula von der Leyen. Trump rings them up and tells them, I want a deal, I'll meet you in my golf club in Scotland, and they run up to him cap in hand and cave in. So the pecking order is United States is top of the pecking order. The European Union are cowardly, what would you call them, inferiority complex people. So they don't think anything of themselves. They don't have the ability to deal with Trump in a sensible way. And if they don't respect themselves, you can think what they think of the Paddy the Irishman, or the British soldier, or the British man, or the French. We're dirt in their eyes. And if we were to be, our children, I'll not be, our children were to be conscripted in and made fight, and we were killed, sure, that's too bad. We'll have a service. Oh, we'll make up a poem about them. Now, so in that situation, some development from outside of Ireland is a possibility. You get my point? Things are changing rapidly. We are and have been for 2 years on the verge of nuclear war. Trump is hard to call, but Trump has stationed 2 nuclear submarines off Europe. He could be persuaded to go to war. Britain and Germany are desperate for a war in Europe. They are desperate that Russia does not win. They feel Russia must not win. Yet Russia is winning hands down and is capturing British and other soldiers in the Ukraine and holding them as prisoners. And they're pretending to be tourists. You see? So that is the way the thing is crumbling. The cookie's crumbling. But the good side of it is that when they come along looking for our people, our young people, and military and all that, they'll paint it up. Oh, the military is such a great thing. Oh, if you're an army officer, oh, you're a gentleman. You have a military rank for the rest of your life. You're a colonel. You're a captain or whatever. Oh, you're a private or you're a lieutenant or whatever, or a sergeant. They'll dress it up like that. And that worked in the last World War, the last 2 World Wars. It worked in Ireland, the First World War. It didn't work the Second World War, but it worked in Britain. My guess is it won't work this time. They won't fool the young people to give up their mobile phones, give up their McDonald's and their fish and chips, their televisions. They won't convince them to do it without their smartphones. And their lifestyle is as poor as it may be. And they're well told by the likes of me what a war is like. And I've explained that, and I might do another video on the horrors of war. And they probably won't fight. And when they won't fight, they'll try to conscript them. And they'll have An Garda Síochána, and they'll have military conscriptors and everything. And they'll refuse to give young men the dole. So if you apply for your dole, they won't give it to you if you're military age. So they'll collapse the economies with their baloney on climate change. They'll collapse the economies. There'll be no jobs. Ireland is great for jobs at the minute. It's unbelievable. But that can change. They'll collapse the economies. And when the economies collapse, the people will go for the dole. Married men are up to 35. And they'll say, the recruiting officer wants to see you. You have an appointment for next Tuesday. And if you don't do it, you'll get no dole. And your children will starve. And it's at that stage that the Irish people might wake up. And it'll take that. And they might just agree. That it's a bit too much. And they might contribute to soup kitchens and way of feeding people and way of teaching kids in high school. And the best of Ireland might come out in that position where we will back up our young men, and in Britain too, and keep them out of the army. They can't jail them all, but they can cut off their entitlements and they can do all those things. Will they change their vote? Well, that's maybe the way it'll go. But it'll take that extreme to force the Irish to change their vote. And that's where the change will come. That's developing rapidly. I mean, Russia's winning hands down. Okay, do you see what I'm getting at? Once you let Germany out, once you let Germany loose on the world, we know what they're going to do. We know it. They wrote the script twice before, and there's no difference in them now. And someone did ask me there earlier about this thing about socialism. Hitler's party was the National Socialist Workers' Party of Deutschland, and Deutschland is Germany. The National Socialist Working Party of Deutschland, of Germany. And many people here didn't know that. Well, I knew that when I was 4. And the standard of knowledge among Irish people is really abysmal. I mean, they know nothing. They know very little, but I'm trying to bring it to you. That was Hitler's party. Whether he was socialist or not, he used it to get elected, and he got 37% of the vote. And we know what he turned out to be. So, that's it. That's my view on it. It's strange times. The Irish won't wake up, but anything could happen. But I think when their grandchildren and children are being drafted, that's when the crack is going to start. Now, in my own nature, it would be if my country was being attacked and we had to defend it under a good Taoiseach and a good president. No better man to go into the town hall and do a dad's army job and parade attention and all the rest and have a bit of rifle practice and all of that. No better man. And that's what they would be hoping will happen again. But it'll not happen again because it's not for Ireland, and indeed it's not for our neighbour, the United Kingdom. They're going to be fighting Germany. Let the British look out for themselves. Let them decide how to handle this emergency. And I think they'll not go. And that's where the like a stormer will be caught out. And I think our people in Ireland won't go. And that'll be the difference. That never happened in the world before. It never happened before that the people of a country said no. Because it proves the point. There is an enormous gap between what the ordinary Irish people, the ordinary British people want and what they get after an election. The reason it turns out like that is complicated. There may be even some corruption involved. But it does. The government we get is not the government that represents the people. But you can give all kinds of reasons. It is to say around here, it doesn't matter. That's the way it is. But pushing the win at the ballot box and the making up of a coalition government with the Greens, who are war mad as well, to make us go to war is going to be some task. It's going to be some task. And I think that's where it's going to founder. And they'll have to give up and hump to hell off. And as I said already, the European Union will probably collapse or it'll come asunder. I don't know. But they'll never succeed in this, because the inevitable consequences of them breaking the agreements on the environment, of them breaking the law, and of them breaking the rights of the people is that no two countries near each other, no two political entities are going to be on the same tune. So if you had nice, good, democratic countries, good, democratic, freedom-loving countries with the rule of law for everybody, they'd be on the same tune as their neighbours and all their neighbours. So there wouldn't be a grounds for war. They'd all be common sense people getting on with having a bit of fun and enjoying their lives. But once you break down the rule of law, once you break down democracy, which they have already done, which they stop people being elected to government because they don't like them, once that starts to happen, you've got to have the same thinking in Europe as you do in Russia. And two corrupt countries won't get on well. Two freedom-loving countries will get on well. But two corrupt countries won't get on well. Or two countries that hate freedom and that hate their own people will have difference of opinion. And the next thing is there'll be a war over very little. Whereas if there were democratic countries that sit down and that iron it out. And that's the way we're heading. War has been part of Europe for 4,000 years. And why do we think it's going to go away? Why should it go away? I can see no reason why it should go away. It'll be here, it'll be with us, and it'll come back to haunt each 2 generations. Comment underneath on what you think. That's less than 20 minutes. We'll see you back, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.